All right, let's talk about immigration bonds. The first thing you have to know is there are certain crimes that are so serious you're not eligible for bond, okay? So if, for example, you've murdered an American citizen, they're never going to let you out of there. They're going to hold you and they're going to try and deport you. But that's the first consideration. Whether there's a statutory bar to asking for a bond. If you can establish that there's no statutory bar, then there are three big considerations. These apply in most cases. The first one is this person a threat to public safety? That immigration judge cannot release someone that they believe represents a threat to public safety. That's no big deal. Public safety isn't implicated if it's a simple visa overstay. But where the person, for example, has a history of DUIs, that's not an automatically disqualifying offense. But this person is engaging in behavior that's dangerous to the public at large. They're drinking and driving. Perhaps they have a substance abuse problem, something like that. So the court will not let them out, even though they're otherwise eligible because they failed the public safety test. The second one is, are they at risk of flight? Are they going to come back for further court hearings? This is very interesting because normally you would think that someone hiring a lawyer, they're usually expensive, isn't planning on running. But more and more we've been seeing that, and more the government has been imposing, even when they release people, a condition of ankle monitor and things like that. But that's the second risk. Are they a risk of flight? And they handle a lot of that now with ankle monitors and things like that. And the third consideration is whether this person is a threat to national security. I've never had a case like that. I think it would have to be something where there's an allegation that the person in immigration detention is a foreign spy or something of the sort. So I've never seen that, but that's also something the court's required to take into consideration. If you can establish that the person isn't subject to a statutory bar, like I said, murdered an American, and you can establish that this person is not a threat to public safety, is likely to come back for court, and is not a threat to national security, you'll generally get an immigration bond assigned. Those range, I think, from $1,500 to $15,000. You can use a bail bondsman. They tend to have very strict terms, much stricter when they're dealing with immigrants than when they're dealing with citizens. And that's because in many cases, the citizens can't just run to some other country, but an immigrant can. So they tend to want a lot of collateral, much more than normally you would expect a 10% down or something with a bail bondsman for a citizen. But that's a quick rundown. You have to establish the person isn't subject to a statutory bar, that they're not risk to public safety, that they're not likely to run away, and that they're not a threat to national security. If you can establish those things, you can get a bond set. But that's a short rundown on immigration bonds and how you do it. This is Immigration Attorney Joseph Patrick Murphy. If you need help getting an immigration bond for your loved one, give me a call. My office number is 412-521-2000. My cell, text, WhatsApp, they're all the same number, 412-973-3442. That number rings right through to me. Don't hesitate to use it. I'll be happy to take your call. Joseph Patrick Murphy, 412-973-3442.